weird looking at you guys like this. So we'll just have to like, deal with it. I have to be honest with you. Some of you know me well enough to know this. I am not awesome when it comes to technology. So does anybody know what the word inept means?
Nope.
Like in meaning not, ept meaning sufficient. So I'm working on it, but I will warn you that this is the first PowerPoint presentation I've made in a lot of years. And so I'm doing my best, but it's something I'm working on. So be patient if I need a little bit of help with technology. So we're gonna kind of do like a lecture sort of question and response right now, which isn't something we do a lot of, but I think what we're gonna talk about is really important. Sorry, I have a big thing about not speaking over people when they're speaking. So if you guys need to move, you can go ahead and do that. Thanks. So we're going to be talking about what we do as a program and why we do what we do. And why don't we do something else? And I would really appreciate engagement. So if you guys have questions or comments or things like that, we can work together. But I want you to understand what we're trying to do here. It's not perfect. We're working on it. But we're trying to make it so that you guys kind of understand the process behind a Montessori education. Okay? So the first question I have is, what is the role of education? Why do we have it? Why do we have school? Mm-hmm.
So we can learn.
So we can learn, okay?
So we can get jobs in the future.
So we can get jobs in the future is to keep our economy going, yeah.
To teach each other a skill.
So how to teach a skill or how to know a skill.
So we don't just have a society of idiots.
So we don't just have a society of idiots. Well, has school always been a thing?
No.
No, and not even just in the United States, but even in other places in the world right now, it's not necessarily how we view it here in the U.S. So, does anybody know what the word compulsory means? It's a hard word. So, yeah, do you want to try it? Go ahead.
It is when it becomes mandatory.
So when it becomes mandatory. So compulsory means mandatory. In the United States, it is compulsory that the state government offer and mandate that you go to school in most states, and maybe all of them, until you're 18. There might be a few that are still 16, but in Indiana, I'm pretty sure it's 18. We have to offer you some sort of education. Now, can you homeschool?
Yes.
Yeah, sure you can. But your folks actually have to register that you're doing something. And Indiana is one of the top 5 friendliest states toward homeschooling. So that can happen. There are alternate ways to do schooling. But basically, we have to promise you that you have the right to learn. And if you don't show up to school, like if you get 10 absent days with no excuse or things like that, we actually have to tell the state, because that's neglect on your parents' point of view. Can you believe that? Because they have a responsibility to get you to school, and that's part of our schooling system. So what is the purpose of education? Well, I found this quote. It says, in the United States, historically, the purpose of education has evolved according to the needs of the society. Education's primary purpose has ranged from instructing youth in religious doctrine, to preparing them to living in a democracy, to assimilating immigrants into mainstream society, to preparing workers for the industrialized 20th century workplace. And on the slide before this, you guys said almost all of those things, right? So what sort of options for school do we have here in Southern Indiana? I don't know your name yet. What's your name? Espen?
Spencer.
Spencer, I'm sorry. Spencer, what's an example of a type of school we have here?
We have Catholic schools.
Parochial schools. Now, what would be on this list? What would be the purpose of the parochial school? Go ahead, Spencer.
To teach religion.
Yeah, so religion is going to be part of that. So if you go to OLPH or Holy Family or Providence, right? What else do you know about parochial schools? Yeah, go ahead. You can answer.
Okay. That they spend at least one period during their day in a church.
Okay, so they might spend part of their time going to church. Is it free?
No.
No, it costs money. We oftentimes call these private schools because the government isn't going to fund something that has a religious backing. Okay, what are other examples in our area of schools that we could go to? Riley?
I mean, not that our age could go to a grant line.
Sure, so we would call that a traditional public school system, right? And so for your all's age, you might have Highland Hills, River Valley, Parkview, right? Okay, so they're the traditional public school system. So what do you think one of its main purposes would be?
Just basic education.
So offering a basic education, it's certainly going to want to prepare you for the industrialized world, meaning you can work in our society when you graduate. It's going to probably introduce you to democracy. If you're an immigrant, it will assimilate you to be able to speak and have some common knowledge of our culture. Okay? Logan. Did it, didn't I? Jack, come on in. I started it all out wrong. I'm so sorry. Lucas.
It's okay.
We have charter schools.
Charter schools. So Indiana is lucky enough to have charters. Not all states in the country do. What does a charter school do?
It's our kind of school, right?
It's our kind of school. You're right.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't even know how to explain it.
Yeah, you don't know how to explain it, and people are going to ask you, and you're going to be like, I don't know. So that's why we're talking about it today. What do you know about it?
So a charter school is similar to like a private school, except with private schools like with like the Christian schools, you have to be a Christian to be able to get in. And
Could be. There's another main difference. What do you
You
think?
don't have to live in the same city.
You don't have to live in the same city, so it's some choice. What else, Riley?
So pretty much wherever you at school, wherever you pay, you get put on a list, and then your name pretty much gets drawn out of the list.
So there's a limited quantity, right? But the main difference is about money. So a charter school is a free option. You have a little bit that you pay, only because it's like a book fee, but you pay that at any school. So it's a free option for a school that has a special mission statement, essentially. And who determines if our mission is being followed? Does anybody know?
I forgot what it's like a college.
You're right. Does anybody know the college? It's in Indiana. So it's
I have a guess.
Okay.
Is it the college? I think it's the college that's right over there.
Nope, and it's right over there. It's Ball State. Okay? So Ball State University is our charter. They check us every 3 to 5 years and they determine if what we're doing is correct. If they say, hey look, you're not really doing what you said you were going to do, they could take away our charter, which means that our school would have to find a different way to get funding. So our money comes from the public school system, but it comes from each county because you don't have to live in one county to go here, right? You can live wherever. I think you said that, right? So that's a charter school. Are there any other types of schools? Did I call you the wrong name?
That's right, Logan.
Is your name not Logan?
It's Lucas.
This one?
No, that's Logan.
Okay, but he's the one who said it.
Okay, never
All
mind.
right. Go ahead.
Because you looked this way and Lucas thought you were.
Two things. Do you call him
Accidentally. I messed up last year and I'm not brain. All right, so we have those types of schools. Okay, go ahead.
homeschool?
Homeschool is absolutely an option as well, right? So those are kind of our main options. So we don't have a ton in this environment. Were you going to add?
Yes, you're aware of the instance of schooling that was Mesopotamian.
Sure, schooling has been around for a really long time. Some sort of way to continue trade and culture growth. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we have all of these different types, but ours, yes?
Can you do school like online?
Yeah, that would be considered a homeschool program, but it's through the state. Yeah, you absolutely can. So we know that it's compulsory, and we know that we have a couple of options, and you've chosen to be here, or maybe you didn't choose to be here, but your parents chose to be here. So whatever, you're here. So who in the heck is this Montessori dude or dudette? Is she a dude or a dudette? Oh, it's a she, so she must be a dudette, right? What is her thought, and why are we here, and why do we do what we do? So she said, a long time ago, the only real interest in education is the development of programs in the schools and the theoretical inculcation of moral or religious principles outside the school. Okay, that's cool, but this is the important part, so here we go. Thus, imposed on the individual a life in which, hour by hour, he depends, both in action and thought, entirely on the actions and thoughts of the adult, from whose his authority has no appeal. What the heck does that mean, and what does that mean about what we do? What do you think? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I think that means that she's trying to point out the flaws of the industrial system
Okay.
by saying that when you force a child that is not interested in a particular activity, they may not be able to learn.
Yeah, I cannot, well, actually, maybe I can. Let me get a saw real quick. I'm gonna go into Rachel's head, and I'm gonna get this knowledge, and I'm just gonna shake it in there, and I'm gonna stitch her head back up, and now she knows it, right?
No.
Like, not real. And if you don't wanna learn, are you gonna learn?
No.
No, you're gonna come and protest, let's be honest, right? And so just like what you said is, if I come here and tell you every day what to do, and you do it, is that useful?
No.
Well, it can be. What might be some of the benefits when she wrote this in the 1920s and 1930s? What might have been some of the benefits of having a school system like that? Somebody who hasn't spoken yet, and then I'll come to you. Go ahead.
Okay. I thought you heard this one. I'm sorry. Well, back then, so there was a class for girls and a class for boys. It taught you how, if you're in the female group, it taught you how to be a quote-unquote proper woman. And
Okay, so to continue the rules of society, all right? So
Yeah.
that might be one good thing. What might be another reason that we want you to just go in a row and do these things? Go ahead.
Created an obedient workforce, made people more loyal to a particular to a particular set of principles that
Sure.
their forefathers.
Loyalty, strong workforce, are those things that you want if you run a country?
Kind of.
Yeah, totally. It also is going to make a productive society. If I came in here every day, I'm like, Zeta, get this, this, and this done, and you obey me and you get all of that done, are you productive?
Yes.
Yeah, sure she is. But that doesn't mean that she's necessarily thinking, right? And so what this says is that the goal of education, or what Montessori saw as the goal of education, was that we should just have children learn how to do what we want them to do, and then they'll do that as adults. But she didn't think that this was the best way to actually have a workforce or a society later in life. So she wanted to change this. Now, how do you think that was met? Do you think the government was like, heck yeah, change it? Good idea. No, definitely not. And she actually was living in Italy, early life during World War I, but then it became World War II, and who was the leader there? Do you guys know? Not Hitler. Hitler was in Germany.
Sorry, I'm thinking of.
He was in the movie the other day, guys.
So is it it's. I keep wanting to say Mussolini.
Oh, you're close! Mussolini! And we know that Mussolini was the dictator, and he wanted things done a certain way. And Montessori said that's so against my principles. What did she do? She left. She went to India, right? Yeah, and so she said, I believe in this strongly enough that I don't want to be any part of that. She said her idea of education was not just about the academic stuff, because that is part of it. That's why she has all the materials. But it's more than that. Her concept of education is to help a life. This is the first and fundamental principle. And what she meant by that was to develop youth into becoming humans that would better society. And she believed that if we did this at the core level, at your own level, that there would be peace in the world forever. Has that happened? No. So we still have work to do, right? But that was her idea, to help a life see its interdependence. What does the word interdependence mean? I think it's on your own vocab this week. Nathan?
It means like in community, you get stuff out of community and the community gets stuff out of you.
Exactly, like you're interwoven, you're connected, right? And so she developed not only all of these beautiful materials that we use, especially at the younger ages, but she developed this thing called the cosmic curriculum, in which you start to understand your place in the universe, and you see how interconnected and valuable that is. Because she believed that if you were invested in that you would want world peace. And that would just be how it would be. So, what does this mean for the brain? Well, she started to study people. We know first and foremost that Dr. Montessori was a scientist and a doctor. So she didn't just look at things from a society point of view or an educator's point of view. She looked at them from a scientist or medical point of view. So she was thinking about the brain. Does anybody know anything about the brain? Okay, Spencer, tell me something about the
The
brain.
left side controls the right side of your body, and the right side controls the left side.
Okay, so if you're damaged in one part of your brain, you may have body controls or voice control, things like that might hurt it.
One side is basically the creative side, or the learning side,
Okay,
and then the other is the learning side.
or the logical side, okay.
You have the prefrontal cortex.
What does the frontal lobe do?
It helps you feel emotions. It also helps you recognize faces.
Sure, and also, go ahead, what were you gonna say?
The smarter you are, the lengthier your brain is.
The lengthier that your brain is?
The lengthier.
Oh, okay. Also, the frontal lobe is what helps you to make sound, reasonable decisions, where you start to process through things. Has anybody heard of the part of the brain called the amygdala?
Maybe
Nobody?
Yes.
So it's like this part in the back of your brain, and it is what sends off what's called your flight or fight response. So, like, especially when you're younger, or people who are in traumatic situations all the time, they have these huge amygdalas, and they're like always in flight or fight. They're always like, we gotta take care of this, and they don't use their frontal lobe very much, which says, slow down, think about it, solve the problem. But you guys are at a really special developmental stage in which one is turning down and one is turning up. But sometimes you make these really impulsive teenage decisions. What do you think is causing that? That amygdala is like, along with hormones. So anyway, Montessori believed that we could help develop brains if we could look at the child as a whole child. Did you guys want to add? Did you guys have something to add? Oh, okay. Then let's keep our side talk to ourselves. Okay, so she made this way cool, kind of bulb. She also has one that looks like arrows that maybe you've seen. Have you guys seen that one before?
No.
So she believed that there were 4 stages of development in the human life from birth until about 21 or 24. And she believed that they kind of went in these triangles or bulbs. And when the bulb is really big, what do you think is happening?
A lot.
A lot is going on. And when the bulb's skinny,
Not much.
you're in a stable period. So she believed that from 0 to 3, you have this unconscious mind. She called it like the embryo. And this is when you're able to get all of this information just kind of magically. If you look at Angela's baby, I'm sure every day she's learning how to do something new. She's blinking on her own. You don't have to teach her how to blink or grasp her hands. Like, we just do these things, right? But then once you get to be about 2 or 3, wow, you explode with things like speech and learning numbers. How many of you guys have younger siblings or cousins that you've seen during that age and they're like exploding with you're like, wow, when did you become a human? But this is a huge time of growth, right? And so you're really surging here. But then she suggests from 6 to 12, she calls anything when you're moving that much a chaotic period. So 0 to 6, she's like, utter chaos. When you get to 6 to 12, those are calmer times. Now, some of you guys are just coming out of the 9 to 12. Probably as you ended last year, how many of you guys started to get like itchy feet? Like, I gotta get out of here, this is way too much, and I'm bored and I need to move. How many of you guys felt that at the end of your 9 to 12 years? Okay. So that's really typical, because as you come down out of this settled period, you're about to move into the 12 to 18, and you can see what happens to the bulb. It gets big again. She actually suggests that puberty, is that what you guys are laughing at? It is a funny word. It happens to all of us. It's so weird. So she suggests that 12 to 15 is almost as tumultuous as that 3 to 6-year-old.
What is
That you're, what'd you say?
like tumultuous or what?
Tumultuous? Yeah, that means commotion. Exactly. So she believes that your body is going through so much change that it's almost in as much evil as it was from when the time you were 3 to 6. And you're learning, your brain is ready to be saturated. Only how many of you guys in the last like 6 to 8 months have felt clumsy? or you feel like your feet don't work the same way they could, or you used to be able to do like awesome gymnastic moves or soccer moves, and now you can hardly run up and down the field without feeling like you're gonna die. How many of you guys know that you should get out of bed because it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday and you just can't do it? And how many of you guys know your hair is greasy but you don't feel like washing it?
Oh, no.
These are all really normal things for people your age because you're trying to figure out how to leave childhood and move into adolescence, which is like you're really close to being an adult. And it's scary and you're resistant, but at the same time your body is like surging with hormones and stuff. And how many of you guys have noticed that your rooms have gotten messier and you want them to be dark and you just want it to be like a little nest? Yeah, so for some of you guys, that's happened. So she also begins to talk about. So she's not the only person who believed this. And what she actually believed was that once you get to be about 12, oh, I don't want you to look at that yet. Once you get to be about 12, you ought to just quit school. You ought to take all of you 12 to 14-year-olds. You're not going to learn anyway. Your brains are mush. We may as well pack you up, she believed, and sit. What did you say?
You just call me Snoop.
Yeah, she said it in a nice way.
I called you mush. It's different. So she actually said, her quote was much nicer than the way I just put it. She believed that you've done so much learning in these last years of 9 to 12 that you actually need what she called a break. And that for 2 to 3 years between the ages of 12 to 14, you ought to be sent away from your family.
Yes.
You're utterly useless. And she believed that the best thing for 12 to 14-year-olds, and I want you to remember though, like when she was first writing this in 1907, 1908, 1910, some of you guys in here would already be married and be working on having a baby. Okay? So just keep in mind the times. Now I don't think a ton has changed developmentally, but that's reality, right? So she believed that you should be sent away to a farm to begin an occupation so that you could learn economic independence. And she really believed that 12 to 14-year-olds should be, she wanted them all to run hostels, or basically Airbnbs. And that it should be a farm Airbnb. And that you should be able to host people, you should be able to feed people, you should be able to feed yourselves, you should be able to build buildings, you should be able to have livestock that you took care of, and then you should support neighboring places around you, because that was also important. So, she called this philosophy, this time away, Erdkinder, basically like teen of the earth instead of kindergarten kind of thing. She described it like this. Life in the open air, in the sunshine, and a diet high in nutritional content. How many of you guys have nutritional content for lunch? Be honest, I better see like only 2 or 3 hands. What? Nutritional content meaning no sugar. She didn't think that you should have tons of sugars. She thought you should have like fresh vegetables and coming from the produce of neighboring fields. Improve the physical health while the calm surroundings, the silence, the wonders of nature satisfy the need of the adolescent mind for reflection and meditation. So she really believed that you guys should have opportunities to be super social, because you're super social beings, that you should be working together to create economic stability for yourselves, and that you should also have time for meditation and an aloneness, because there's a dichotomy in adolescence between wanting to be alone and wanting to be social. Okay? So she just felt like you should be sent away to do that. Now, how many of you guys think that would be nice? Really? Monsoon was all like, everybody! Except for then I reminded them that would mean no phones, that would mean being outside all the time. Okay. Once you got used to it, you might find that you really loved it.
I need my phone.
I don't have them.
She also believed, so, is that what the state of Indiana says that we can do here?
Yeah.
So Montessori believed that there should be a huge amount of learning on the land, but that there was still a great deal of importance to be gained from, academic rigor. Now, the state of Indiana believes that maybe you should have some free time, but what's the most important thing in their mind? Well, not school. We call it school. We're at school right now. The academic rigor. Okay, so it's flip-flopped. So can I just take you guys as a public school outside all day just to play all the time?
Yes.
So I could, but I am also responsible to the state of Indiana to ensure that you are gaining the sort of education that I promised Fall State you will gain. And so can you learn through PE? Yes. Absolutely. But is it possible that you also need to have academic rigor? Yes. And so what we try to do here is precisely what she stated. The plan aims above all at valorization of the personality in the present social conditions. Now, what are social conditions? Someone who hasn't spoken. Really? Anybody? Social conditions? The conditions of society, yeah. So how society thinks you should be doing things, right? Now, is it true that in 1935 the social conditions were different?
Yes.
How about 1945?
Yes.
Sure, in World War II. How about 1957?
Yes.
Sure, in the Cold War. How about 2001?
Yes.
Yeah, and so your social conditions are different even from mine. And I know I look old, but I'm not that much older. But our conditions are different. I think this is valuable, so if you can just give it your attention, that would be helpful. So I didn't even have cell phones until I was working here.
Oh.
And when I was in 7th and 8th grade, there wasn't even accessible internet.
Oh, that's nice.
So in just 20 years, 21 years or so, 22 years, the whole world has changed that quickly. So we have to take this quote and we have to change it to support how society changes. And what does the word valorization mean? This is another one of your vocab words. To valorize somebody means to give them, like, think about value at a grocery store, is to give them value. So you see 3 pictures here. What are the pictures of? What's happening in these pictures?
People.
Go ahead. Why is this person climbing? What does this have to do at all with education? Make them rethink.
It's really important to have a connection with nature.
So connection with nature. That's not the only thing. That's a good thing. What else?
It's also physical education or PE.
So your ability to move your body. That's not all. Learning a new skill. Has anybody here ever been rock climbing? Okay. When you go rock climbing, can you just move like that, or do you have to think about where you're going to put your hand? So could this also be asking you to slow down and to consider your options? To take time with something? To learn how to move your body in a different way, to adapt to different circumstances? Yeah. Does it have to be rock climbing? No. It could be a game of soccer. It could be anything that asks you to critically think. Okay? What's this picture of? Go ahead.
Like socializing?
Socializing, hanging out. Are they at school?
No.
No, they're outside, right? In fact, this is down by the YMCA. And so what would be the role of this socialization process outside of school, even though it was during the school day? Riley?
They're learning how to socialize between other people and it's giving them a new skill, how to talk different, not talk the same as your mother or something.
Sure, and also to be out in society.
You got the wrong definition for valorization. Valorization is the artificial value assigned to a particular item.
Okay. I suppose what I think Montessori meant by valorization is more along the lines of a way for each of us to offer space within the other to understand and celebrate their value. So we can maybe say that maybe she intended something different than the definition that you provided us. Thank you.
Diamonds are a perfect example.
There's
of
different
valorization.
definitions.
Are we over about?
Okay. What's the last picture of?
People
Okay, presentation. Tell me, Rachel, what's noticeable in this presentation?
He's getting the pictures, taking this stuff he's learned and presenting it to us.
And both of these are students at the school, right? So this is a 6 to 9-year-old, and this is he's a senior this year, I'm pretty sure. So what does this tell us about our system?
You can socialize with them with people under you.
So are they just socializing in this picture? Are they just hanging out and like on the playground? Say that?
Even if you're older, you can still learn from people younger than you.
That we can have experts at all different levels, right? And that there's an interdependence and a compassion element in learning new things, right? Okay. And so what about you? And what does this mean for you? And what does this mean about our program? So what are some of the things that we've chosen to integrate into our program to try to be as in line with Montessori's version or vision of Erdkinder and also aligned with the state standards? So based on what you guys have been talking about the last few days, what are some things that you're going to be finding in the Islands program that fall into this category? Don't be shy. What do you know about that's not just academic learning? Well, what is the academic thing we're going to be doing all year?
The study guide.
Study guides, right? And study guides are going to have academic rigor on them. Now, they may have other elements in them, but that's where we're getting our academic rigor. What else?
Journal.
So journal, that goes along with academic rigor, yep.
We're not working on a farm.
We're not working on a farm. We have to adjust to working on a farm.
For some of us, like algebra and stuff like that.
So that's academic rigor.
Well, sometimes we'll have an activity in the math or outside or something, so that's.
How many of you plan on going to expressions this year? Like you're going to be in one of the theater things, or you're going to do cooking or ceramics or something like that. Is that learning? Yeah. All of you are going to be participating in big projects this year. That's a type of learning. All of you are going to be participating in occupations this year. That's a big deal. So there's a little of this and a little of that, and we combine all of these, but what Montessori referred to these terms is noble work. And she said that the work that you do in occupations is just as valuable and just as noble as the work that you do on your math paper. And the work that we do, you know, last year we got caught up, a lot of people said, oh, Fridays are so easy, they're so fun, we don't do any work. We don't do any work. Because what happened? You came, you got a lesson, then you did big projects, right? Well, according to this, that is work. So now we have to shift away from that. Every Wednesday when you come, what are we going to be doing? Work. Occupations. It's a job. Now, that job doesn't mean that you have to sit in one spot and you're being given the information. It means that you might be exploring, or you might be cooking, or you might be building something, or you might be working in the greenhouse. But that's still work, and it's no less valuable than any of the other work that we do here. And we have to reframe our mindset, because what happens is we get stuck in these things don't matter as much, when in fact they matter just as much, if not more. So you have to consider that all of these things are work. So David Kahn, who is a Montessori specialist, has been investigating how to include occupations in a more urban setting, okay? And also as farm work. And he says occupations will be a source of meaningful work that will be valued by the community itself. Work that challenges both the mind and body, work that is recognized as legitimate by the culture, work that has economic validity, work that is made noble by being done with integrity and passion. Engagement leads to a sense of ownership and stewardship. So what is going to be the goal of the jobs that we're presenting? Just to sit around and have fun and waste time? What do you think? No, they're just farm workers of the 1930s.
Why are they wearing shoes?
Because maybe they didn't have shoes, they didn't want to.
How would you wear shoes?
So essentially what our goal is to create occupations that allow you to own your role, whether you're in the management level of your business or you're just ordering something for your business that day. But that it makes you want to continue with the business and also own your role and feel valued by the community. Did you want to add something? Okay, so what does all this look like on a calendar? Because it starts to pile up, right? sort of starts off like each day you have little things that you have to do. And then each week you have these study guide things that you have to do. And then certain days of the week you're doing occupations, and certain days of the week you're doing big projects, and certain days of the week you need to work on your study guide. It's exhausting. So how many of you guys have begun to think about how you're going to organize your time? A couple of you? That's going to be something over the next week you're really going to want to think about. Because during Wednesdays and maybe some Fridays, you're not going to have a lot of sit-down studio time. You're going to be up moving, going around, doing the things that fall into those other categories. So you really have to allot your time, because our goal is not to give you homework or to have a ton of things that need to happen, right? Oh, whoops, don't worry about that one. Okay, so lastly, Montessori said, the Montessori method must be help given in order that the human personality may achieve its independence, or a means offered to deliver the human personality from the age-old prejudices regarding education. So our goal in the next 2 years or a year, depending on how much longer you're in the islands, is to help you develop independence, understand what you want to do and how to go about doing it, and to recognize that noble work, educational work, doesn't have to be just the academic rigor, that it's about all of the parts of you and the ways that develop your brain and body. Okay. Any questions?